Hi and welcome back, everybody. I wanted to do some final thoughts about the Kite Runner. Am I locked into these 5 videos just out of habit? Maybe. A 5 video set seems pretty good, but yeah. Final thoughts about the Kite Runner, about this book, about why I liked it, and what we have learned from our discussions here. So I think, why is the Kite Runner a valuable book to read, or at the very least a good book to read, right? I think that's two different questions. Valuable for me means that there is something that I can teach my students. There's something that I can take from this that we can spend time on, that we can talk about, and that hopefully my students can have different opinions on and sort of see things from different perspectives. And I think the book definitely offers that. I think because at the heart of the book is this family issue, these questions of how do you relate to your parents and how do they relate to you, right? One of the issues between Amir and Baba is that Baba doesn't understand his son. Baba wants his son to be a macho, football playing, sports kid. And Amir isn't that. Amir is a writer. Amir wants to write and be creative. He's not a soccer kid. And his dad doesn't get that. And I think for a lot of teenagers who are, my students, I imagine quite a few of them are going through that, right? Their parents want things and expect things of them that might not be true to who they are, that might not be true to what they want, and probably have a very hard time expressing that to their parents and telling them, I don't want to be this thing you want me to be. I am something else. And they may return to someone like a Rahim Khan, another adult who does know, or at the very least is open to what they want to be and can help them out. And is that me? My track record? No. My students are great. They do not turn to me for life advice, though. This is not Dead Poet Society. On the other hand, the inverse of this is that Amir discovers his father's, for lack of a better word, humanity. His father is not the great bear. His father is not a monolithic mythical figure. His father is a human being who made mistakes, who did things that he was ashamed of, who had very high pride, and who allowed that pride to get in his way many times. And Amir didn't really, as a kid anyway, Amir didn't really know that. And once you find that out, once you read all the way through the book and you learn about, for example, Baba's reaction to moving to America, right? From Kabul, where he was one of the most well-known people in the city, to California, where he was just some other Afghani guy. He had a very hard time adjusting to that, and it caused him problems. And I think that's important to know that, yeah, parents can be proud. Parents can be proud of who they are. They can be thrown for a loop. And then, of course, when Amir learns that Hassan is his brother from Baba, that is a whole other revelation that, Baba had said for years, right? Lying is the worst sin. Lying steals the truth from people. Then it turns out he lied for Amir's entire life. I think once kids learn that their parents are human beings, that their parents are not perfect, that their parents can be hypocrites, their parents can be inconsistent, I think it's a bit of a shock to the system, for sure. But once you accept it, and once you accept what that means, I think for a lot of people it is a bit of a relief that you don't have to live up to this person's expectations of you, because that person is just as flawed and confused as you are. That person's expectations aren't true. They're not real. They're just what they think. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to be that person. Going back to one of the critiques that we talked about in the last video, yeah, Hosseini did resolve the father-son issue in the end. Hosseini did have Amir become a writer and his father finally understand what he truly wanted to do. Amir and Baba died on good terms with his son. And that is beautiful, and that is lovely. And I can see that if you're the type of reader who doesn't really like everything tied up in a nice, tidy bow, then yeah, maybe that's not going to go for you. But I like it. I'm fine with that. So I think the heart of the story is something that is, in a way, universal, that everybody can truly understand, the conflict between parent and child. So I like to teach my kids about that. And I also think that there's a lot that we can pull out. The objective for my students anyway is to learn about how writers do what they do. How do writers craft a story. My students at the end of their long journey have to be able to identify those choices that writers make and say, why were those choices the choices that had to be made, or else this book wouldn't be what it is. And I think you can pick out a lot of those. Again, that goes back to one of the earlier critiques, how a lot of the stuff at the beginning of the book returns towards the end of the book. The split lip, the Asef, the slingshot in the eye, all that stuff, the kites and all that. It all comes back. And for a teacher, that's great, because I can show that to my students and I can say, see, Hosseini did this very deliberately for a very good reason. Now you tell me what you think that reason is. So as a teaching book, I really, really like it. But then just as a reader, right, if I shed this teacher personality for a minute, I just enjoyed reading it. It's a fun read. It's easy to get through. The characters are certainly interesting, and they are complicated enough that you can see how, again, with the exception of Hassan, who is perfectly angelically good, and Asef, who is comically, cartoonishly evil, most of the other characters in the book are reasonably complex, that you can kind of see. Again, you can understand why Amir ran away from Asef raping Hassan. You get it why? Because he's a child, and children, no matter what your young adult books tell you, children should not be responsible for saving other people. That's the job of adults. Adults should be doing that. And but at the same time, he didn't. Amir wanted the kite to show his father that he had won the kite contest, and he thought that would make his father proud of him. And the process of getting the kite is what led to Hassan being assaulted. And so when Hassan finally comes back with the kite, Amir is thrilled about that, and he brings the kite back to his dad, and he goes, look, Dad, I got the kite. And I asked my students, I say, do you think, sure, Baba was proud about the kite, but do you think Baba might have been more proud if Amir had stepped in and saved Hassan? Especially once we know that Hassan is also Baba's son. I think if Amir had stepped in, if Amir had intervened in some way, even if he'd gotten hurt, and he probably would have been, I think that would have truly made his father proud. And you can kind of see that missed moment in the book, and you can find a feel for the kid. You're like, oh, I don't blame you for running, kid, but you really should have done something. So yeah, so as a reader, as a teacher, I enjoy this book. I enjoy going over it again every now and again. I get a little something extra every single time. I haven't seen the movie. I don't know if I want to see the movie. As I mentioned before, movies have a way of being disappointing in a lot of ways. It's hard to do. Adaptation is tough. But someday I might. But in the meantime, I think it is a book that is worth reading. It's a book that's worth talking about. Do I think now that I know something about Afghanistan that I didn't know before? Sure, I do. No matter what some of those critics say. I do think I know something, because I knew really very, very little before I read this book. What I knew was whatever I had learned in 2003 to whatever. Although we really, the news media stopped talking about it pretty quickly. But nevertheless, I didn't really know very much at all. So now I know a little bit more. And I'm sure that if I were to read a book on Afghani history, if I were to read books by Afghani authors about Afghanistan, I would learn that much of what I have learned from Hosseini, from the Kite Runner, is simplified, is very, very rough sketches designed for an audience of American readers. And I understand that, because honestly, if he had hit me with the full Afghanistan right out of the gate, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, because I'm trying to balance learning about the vast, ancient, complex societal structure of Afghanistan alongside this story of a kid who just wants his dad to be proud of him. And those two things don't necessarily go together very well. So, should you read the book? I think you should read the book. I think you should read it. I hope you like it. I can't make you enjoy it. Just like my students, I can't make them enjoy it or enjoy anything. But I hope that you do, and I hope that they do, and I think that they do. We'll find out if they do. But I hope that you enjoy it, and I think you should read it. And I think that's about all I can kind of come up with for that. I don't want to start repeating all my videos already, because I've done that. And I've done those videos, and you don't need to hear me talk about them again. So, with that, thank you all very much for sticking with me for this set. We will move on to our next book now, whatever that book turns out to be. I haven't decided yet as of the taping of this video, so we shall see. But in the meantime, keep reading, keep enjoying yourself. If you do have thoughts about the Kite Runner, please leave them in the comments. I would be happy to hear them. One day I would really like to do sort of a comment response video. I've always seen those. They sound so cool when people get comments. I would love to get comments someday. Anyway, thank you very much for sticking with me, and I will see you next time.